Hi, everyone. Welcome to the latest edition of Pro Wrestling Defined. I'm your host, Jonathan O'Dwyer, and please remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell to keep up with all future content, interviews with legends of the business like the guest we have today, former legendary former WWE Spanish commentator, the one and only Hugo Savinovich. How are you doing today, my man?
Doing fine. Happy to be with you and just excited about what we are doing with the people that I'm working. And I'm very passionate about the business. And I have been very sad with the creative status of the industry. And now I think that things are picking up.
Yeah, definitely. And tell everybody what you're up to these days. Like you're working with Lucha Libre online and AAA. Tell everybody what you're doing nowadays.
Yes, I'm partners with Lucha Libre Online. Javier Gonzalez, myself, and our crew, we have managed to make Lucha Libre Online one of the top 4 wrestling pages in the world, the only Spanish one in the group. And, it's just a delight. Some of my interviews with Andrade and Alberto have reached over 1 million views, and I do lives, my whole crew. It's dedicated. We are credited not just by wrestling associations or groups like WWE, AEW, Ring of Honor, New Japan, of course, my company, AAA, but also UFC, Bellator, all the top professional boxing associations and federations, and even Billboard. We're credited by Billboard. So we do more than just Lucha Libre. We keep it open so our fans could have all kinds of new news from all around the world. And on the wrestling part, I am on contract with Space, which is my main contractor with AAA. And I do play-by-play with Jose Manuel Guillen on their broadcast. And also I'm on the creative side. Conan is the boss. And then it's me and other 2 more team players. And it's just exciting to be able to do what we're doing with the product of AAA. We are creating a new lucha style, a hybrid, more storylines, more submission holds, punches are getting there. We are creating nice characters, and things are happening the right way. And all of that, and also starting international GWE Wrestling from Panama. We should be in Pluto, Latino and Global, Pluto TV, Latino and Global soon. I've done the Spanish and English, and that's my own company and partnership from the Republic of Panama. And just doing a lot of stuff, helping Alberto El Patron with his shows coming up in Fort McAllen, Texas, and also Arena Monterrey in Mexico. So I've been very busy because I'm a pastor, evangelist. So I'm on the go. Just came back from Puerto Rico, did a one-on-one interview with a very famous TV personality that interviews NBA players and politicians. So I did that when I was being interviewed, preached twice on Sunday. My main goal is also to help young people get out of drugs, gangs, and all the other things that almost destroyed my life. And I do that I emphasize that with my professional career. And Carissa Rivera was one of my champions from Wrestling Superstar. We got her signed with Vince, WWE NXT. And now I am projecting Diosa Quetzal, and she's the lady wrestler that I'm projecting. I'm representing her. I want to make her worldwide luchadora, and we're just working hard on her image training. We're making her from a 7-year experienced wrestler. We're making her a voladora, which is a flyer wrestler, and she just started what John Morrison does, that Brazilian art of I think it's called parkour, and just developing all around techniques on her, more submission holds. So that's my latest project, Diosa Quetzal, and she, please tell your viewers to check her out, support her at her YouTube channel. She is something to watch. Beautiful girl. That's number 1. actress, pianist, just an all-around athlete. She's a trainer, and my trainer is also her trainer, Maya Cano from Champions Store. So we have a lot of things happening, and here we are talking to your viewers.
Awesome, man. Yeah, you're really keeping active. It's absolutely awesome to see. Talk about how you actually got started in the wrestling business. Were you a big fan growing up? How did you end up breaking in?
I was 5 years old. I'm from Ecuador, a coast city called Guayaquil in the Republic of Ecuador. And I remember my mother, Doña Melida, ironing. It was a rainy afternoon, and I watched for the first time Lucha, wrestling on TV, and it was El Santo, the guy with the silver mask, the legend of the movies. But this time he was not in the movie. He was working against a wrestler from my country, Ecuador, Monje Loco, long beard. And I was fascinated by the way he did the topes, the flying topes, and the guy was flying. The beard was almost reaching the TV lights, and then he dove from the turnbuckle into his chest, turn him over, and then put the camel clutch, but in Spanish it's well preserved as it's called a submission hold, a caballo, like riding a horse. And the heel guy, the bad guy, surrendering, the people just jumping out of joy, and seeing that mask impacted me and the flying moves. And I told my mother I wanted to be a wrestler. So from 5 years old, I had that dream. And in the tough streets of New York, in the Bronx, where I had to work every day to just keep myself alive, I had the thickness of the whatever was remaining of a Coca-Cola bottle as my weapon to take me from 138th Street and Brook Avenue to 156 in St. Anne's, close to where the accidents occurred of that movie Fort Apache, where they burned down that police precinct in that movie. Well, just 3 blocks from there, I was doing my own Lucha Libre training in an abandoned building, and it was a sporting club, boxing and wrestling, and they beat me up every day. I had to pay $25 a week to get there and get beat up, and just the raw meat, steak meat on my eyes to get the swelling down, and nose bleeding, every part of my body aching. And at 14 years old, under a mask, I debuted as the Assassin Panther, and that was a career that was mixed with gang activity, with crime, and it was the battle between that life and the lucha life. And I'm thankful that wrestling won, and I fought to stay out of trouble, and I debuted at 14 years old. And that same mask guy, El Santo, that just inspired me to become a wrestler. Before he retired, I was 17 in a little town in Puerto Rico called Cabo Rojo. The promoter told me that I was going to work that night with my idol, El Santo, and my hands were sweating, my knees were trembling, and there was Santo, the masked legend of Mexico, and there was Babyface Savinovich. That was one of my names there, Babyface Savinovich. That was the actual name. Babyface Savinovich and Chief Cherokee were like the top tag team at that time in the Caribbean. And I was there with El Santo, and like I said, I was trembling, and I had to be very careful because he could barely see. So if you'd stayed in his way, he could do the flying tackle and give it to you because he couldn't see that much in the ring. But it was such a moment to see myself from 5 years old to working in the ring with El Santo. And then that was the moment that it all became real. And next thing I know, it was a 20-year career that included matches in Japan, twice a World Light Heavyweight Champion on the NWA with the legend Jack Veneno in the Republic of Dominican Republic, and then just top battles with Carlito Caribbean Cool's father, Carlos Colon, and the legends. I managed Abdullah the Butcher. I would say in Spanish, "Mi monstruo, mi máquina, Abdullah," and we would be just the bad guys selling out the whole Caribbean, and it was a beautiful career with a lot of risk at the time. It was more of a battle than the spectacle that wrestling, and people were trying to kill you all over the place. And some of the wrestlers where you went, didn't want you to look too good. So there were actually shoot fights in a lot of countries that I went. In order to be respected, you had to fight your way in the ring. So it was something else.
Awesome. So, talk about how you ended up making the transition to commentary. You started commentary in 1994 for WF at the time.
Yeah, it
Talk
started.
about how that trend.
Yeah, it started way before in Puerto Rico. I was like the top heel, and Carlos Colon, Carlitos Caribbean Cool's father, said to me, "It's come time for you to become a commentary and be our TV person." And they ended up the relationship with their producer and the TV host of the wrestling shows. But I gotta take you just a few years back. That Mexican promoter that booked me against Santo, the Masked Man, my idol, also told me back then when I was not even 17, he said to me, Chiquitin, which is like little guy, remember that in life, everything has a solution, but not being a dumbass. That was like the first lesson he taught me. Don't be a dumbass. And second, he said to me, you're gonna be a mic person, a microphone person, and you're gonna have your own word, your own catchphrase, and it's gonna be Atangana. And deep in my mind, I said, "Oh, this old man Mexican promoter is crazy. I'm not even 17, and he's already telling me that I'm not gonna be a wrestler, that I'm gonna be a microphone man, and that I'm gonna have a crazy word, Atangana." And years went forward, and then there's a conversation with Carlito Caribbean's father, Carlos Colon. He says, "This is top secret." We ended up relationships with the producer and the host of the wrestling shows. And from this day on, Carlos Colon said to me, "Hugo, you're going to be our mic guy, our mic guy." And that was like what the old man said just a few years ago. And it was top secret. It was one of the islands, U.S. Virgin Islands called St. Croix. And I did the interviews and everything was like really kayfabe. Nobody knew about it. And the boys were like, "Hugo doing interviews? What the heck?" So I started doing the openings and closings for the show. And then at nighttime, boom, I sit on the table to do the play-by-play. And now the fans are like, "How the heck did this happen?" He went from the wrestler, the manager of the heels, and now this is him sitting on that play-by-play table. So it was Invader against Hackman Bobby Jaggers, and I did the call. In one part of the call, I said, "Ahí está el Invader número uno, lanza la cuerda a Hackman Bobby Jaggers, viene la catapulta, la cuenta del árbitro, uno, dos." And then I said, Tangana. And that was it. It was like that word, that seed was inside me, and it just gave birth to this dream of me falling in love with the play-by-play, with the production, with the creative part. And from there, I went into Vince McMahon. And for years, he wanted me to work for him. But at the time, I was married to his champion. Wendy Richter was my wife for almost 10 years. And she was the one that started the whole thing of Rock and Wrestling Connection with Hulkamania and Cindy Lauper managing her. And I said to Vince Jr., I said, "Listen, with your father, we did deals with companies together, running shows in Curacao, the old, Worldwide Wrestling Federation, and your father, and we did all this. But with you now, you are the boss of my wife." And just a beautiful story, because the day that she was going to marry me in a place called South of the Border in South Carolina, MTV was, for some reason, they were late with a live show with Hulk Hogan and Wendy and Cyndi Lauper, and Vince had to get her into his limousine and drove to the LaGuardia airport. Meanwhile, I'm waiting at the place where we're going to get married, and Vince is running with her luggage. This is the top guy in the business, Vince McMahon. That's his champion, Wendy Richter, and they're running so she could make the flight to marry me. So, like I said, this guy is a top-class guy. Don't believe the bad stuff we hear about him being a bad guy. He is a true gentleman, and like any successful businessman, sometimes you got to put the law down. But anyway, he called me again. He said he wanted me to work for him, and I said, "Listen, You got my wife working for you, and then if you get upset with her or with me, you're gonna fire the two of us, and then my home is not gonna have two checks. He said, no, that's not gonna happen, and it was like a prophecy. A couple of years went by, and then people believed that the Montreal screw job was the first one, and it wasn't. It was Moolah as a Spider Woman, the referee Jack Lotz, Madison Square Garden, and Wendy Richter, the World Championship. Moolah put the mask on of the character Spider Woman, and between the referee and her, they took the belt from Wendy, and Wendy wanted to kill her, and Moolah escaped the garden. Wendy was a top athlete, stronger, younger, taller than me, and she had really trained to kick somebody's ass. So that was the first screw job, and that was also the prophecy of them not reaching an agreement. Vince refused to honor what he had proposed to her contractual wise. They did not get it signed. He did the screw job, first screw job in history of the WWF, WWE, not the Montreal screw job. That was secondary, second, the Bret and Shawn Michaels screw job in Montreal. And she didn't get a contract, and the two of us would have been fired. And then a couple of years went by. My good friend Luke Williams from the Bushwhackers, he was some of my wrestlers that I managed, and he would do like 15 minutes of him imitating famous characters in wrestling, like Vince McMahon and other people. And at that time, I'm doing drugs. I own a bar, illegal casino, just women left and right. And I'm in a place of no good right now. And the phone rings, and it's 6 o'clock in the morning. Just came back from the bar, illegal casino that I own, the drugs, the women, and I believe that it's Luke Williams doing this character, Vince McMahon, and this goes on like for 15 minutes, and then he doesn't break character. So I said, this is not Luke. And Vince McMahon Jr. says, Hugo, this is Vince. So now I realized, I thought it was a joke, imitation voice of Luke Williams, the Bushwhacker, and it was really Vince talking to me. So he said, come down, stay a month, and then we'll see how we work together. I want you to come here to work as part of my creative team. It will be Bruce Pritchard, Pat Patterson, him, and myself. And we do a month, and I went to his mansion, and he saw I had the long hair, I had the earrings, like a Roman centurion earrings with diamonds, and then I had another piece here that was a star with like two muscles and a ruby in the middle, and all the chains and the long hair. And Vince shakes my hand, and the first thing I did was I shook his hand softly, and he says, no, that's not the way you do it. I want a real handshake. And he shook my hand, and I thought he was going to break this little finger right here. And he said, when people of honor shake hands, it has to be a strong shake hand. That means it's real. That means it's happening. So I said, okay. I always thought that because you were in the wrestling business, you tried to be gentle so people didn't think that you were intimidating them. He says, intimidate them. Don't give, a hope about it. So anyway, he says to me, if you work for me, your hair has to be cut. It will be a tie and a suit. None of those chains, none of those earrings. And I said to him, give me an idea what we're talking first. The first month that I'm here, what's going to be my deal with you? And he wrote down an amount for the month. And wow, I loved it. Plus, he was going to give me his driver for the limousine for the first week. I could use his limousine. Wow, that was like a special treat. I said yes. And then 3 weeks more, car rental, hotel just 3 minutes away from the main headquarters. And I look at the figure, and I said, Vince, and more or less give me an idea of what you're thinking about if we do like each other to work for each other, and for me to work for you, like you told me. Give me a around the park figure. And he said, let's work 1 week together, and then we'll have this conversation, because I will be doing creative with Pat Patterson and Bruce Pritchard. And 1 week went by, and he said, I thought you did a fantastic job with Howard Finkel. People don't know that at West One back then, and they still do the NFL, some of the NFL radio games. Vince had a contract where he did pay-per-views on radio. And I did one in English with Howard Finkel, and everything that they sent me to do, gorilla position, work on some angles with the stars, some of the storylines, everything that he gave me, I did. And plus our first week, the chemistry between Patterson, Bruce, and Vince was good. We sat down, and then he wrote a number. He said, if we come to an agreement, this is more or less what I'm thinking. But remember what I said to you, your hair has to go, the earrings have to go, the chains, and it has to be a suit and a tie. And when he wrote more or less a both figure on it, I said, all right. I said, I'll cut my hair, and I'll get the earrings off, and I'll get the chains off, and like the amount he put down. And then after the month went on, after the month went by, we were happy with each other. I'd say it today. I loved working with Vince, and those were 17 years. That was my family, even though we compete. I loved him. I love him, and I still pray for his company every day. And I will tell you again, he's a good man, hard-headed man, but he's hard-headed when he has that hunch, that vision of where he wants to go. And he was very good to me. And when I fell in drugs and alcohol and I went to jail, he was the guy that gave me that second chance with Victor Quinones, who was the WWE WF Latino president at the time, when nobody else wanted me there. Only Vince, Linda, Shane, Stephanie, Carlos Cabrera, my partner, of course, but nobody else wanted me there. Not Bruce Pritchard, not Pat, not Kevin Dunn. I was too dangerous, and I don't blame him, because I was hanging out with very dangerous people that were my friends, and they were afraid that because of my relationship, by trying to shoot me, they were going to shoot them. And I said to Vince, just give me a second chance, and he did. And with me ending my 17 years there, it was on friendly basis. There was no fights, there was no drugs, everything was smooth. And he brought me back, and I was the co-producer of Univision Network, the biggest network, Latino network in the United States. I came back with my boss, Tom Carducci, to produce, as producers of the Latino show, or the Spanish show, WWF Super Astros. So went from drug addict, alcoholic, a jail person, to a co-producer of WWF Latino show on Univision, and that's my story.
You were ringside for so many incredible moments through the years doing the commentary. Talk about your favorite matches that you called, and some of your favorite wrestlers to call through the years.
Oh man, I was there during the Attitude Era, where people didn't want to miss a pay-per-view. People did not want to miss a Raw or the birth of The Rock SmackDown show. It was so exciting to do from pay-per-views, because it was not boring. Even from the first match, there was something to see. There was something to grab on. There was always a storyline. And then the pay-per-view ended, and you wanted to be Raw next day to see what's going to happen. And sometimes the pay-per-view was good, and the Raw would be even better. So the fans and play-by-play guys like Carlos Cabrera and me, and the King, Jerry Lawler, Jim Ross, we had a fantastic time, because the stars meant something. They were just not numbers signed on big contracts. There were people that you wanted to know more. You wanted to see them start feuds, and you wanted to be there with the feuds, the battles, and calling matches that meant something, and see the beginning of the streak of the Undertaker, see the birth of The Rock, be there from the birth of The Rock, see the beginning of the Stone Cold Steve Austin era, see the guy with the green trunks that debuted in WWF become John Cena, and see the Iron Man matches, Shawn Michaels, Bret the Hitman Hart, see tag team matches that meant something, Yokozuna, Owen Hart, and just the Bulldogs and all these people that meant something. The Intercontinental Championship was a treasure. It meant something. The championships were not just gimmicks or just objects to sell on your WWE shop. It was prestige. It meant something. It was a world of developing storylines. It was a world of action where guys and girls were given the opportunity to entertain us worldwide. And the category of the creative, the matches were here and the creative was here. So everything was even. So you wanted to see the development. And then when new guys or girls will come in, you see vignettes telling you, coming soon, coming soon. So it was like being in the theater, eating your popcorn and enjoying a great movie. And yet you saw the trailers of what's going to happen in a few weeks. And you were saying, this is great, but I'm looking forward to seeing this wrestler come in or this wrestler come in. And that's the battles that I saw. I saw the Mankind and Undertaker, that brutal fall into our table. I saw Mankind almost gasping for air. I got to see where his teeth
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, I saw his tooth come out through his lip. I saw him land so hard next to me that my heart was like boom, boom, boom. And I looked at him and his eyes were like back here. But today they would have stopped it right then. But he refused to. And many people know the story. Many people don't know. That collapse of that little cage door on top wasn't supposed to happen like that. And the only thing that saved it was that the Undertaker was not on top of it, because it would have been total destruction for the two of them. And with the rib cage injured, the tooth sticking out, the blood, the punishment, they managed to tell a savage story, but yet it was like a Broadway play, a bloody Broadway play that told a story that brought us back into maybe the years of the Roman Colosseum, where lions faced the gladiators. It was one of like a life and death contest, and the Undertaker and Mankind gave it to us. Mankind said that he convinced Mark or the Undertaker that he said, listen, from the top of the cell, he says, me and you, I'm never going to give you what Shawn Michaels could give you. But if you give me this of launching me from here to there, we will be part of history. And the Undertaker was afraid for Mick Foley's life. But it just made sense when he took a few steps forward and he said, this is what I've done. This is what I want to do. And he convinced the Undertaker, and they convinced Vince that, as crazy as it sounded, it's what it was going to be done, and it was done. And I was there with Carlos Cabrera when this guy, Mick Foley, one of his characters of not Cactus Jack, not Dude Love, but Mankind, was coming in faster than he admitted he thought he was going to come down. It was faster. And there was no protection for him, and he landed so hard on our table that I heard his, like a vacuum cleaner, it went like, oh, like when life goes out, and he was in so much pain. And we were right there to call something that you didn't have to make up, something that was there, that was just life, that was there. And with that story, the night that Kane was introduced as the evil brother of the Undertaker, and that moment where Vince gets the brother to destroy the Undertaker, and with a shovel, new shovel, people didn't know that the Undertaker got cut deep here, and the story was he was going to be, buried alive, and then put all that ground, and we know the secrets of the oxygen and all that stuff and everything. I don't want to go over that, but there was so much blood that the doctor wanted to stop it, and the Undertaker said no, and because he dresses black, you could not see just the blood just gushing out, and he went ahead and did it, and he bled so much that it was so dangerous for his life. So I was there to narrate that, the iron matches, the the birth of Stone Cold. You name it, we were there. So Attitude Era was part of Cabrera and Savinovich and the stuff that happened on the pay-per-views. If they didn't destroy our table, people at the arena were not going to be happy. People at home were not going to be happy. They wanted to see our table get destroyed. A lot of the times we did not know that it was going to happen. I remember the first time that we were told that Vince was going to bleed in a match. I can't remember who it was. And it was going to take a bump from the cage, I think, backward into the table. And there was a pin that Carlos Cabrera had to take out so it could loosen up the base of the table. And when he was reaching for the cage and that bump was coming, the pin was not coming out. And we were sweating bullets. The boss is going to fall and we cannot take the freaking pin out. And Carlos Cabrera, his sweat is there. And I'm thinking, if he gets fired, I'm going to get fired. And Vince is about to take the bump. And this table was super. The table was, it's always been real. It's just a matter that it collapses. But back then, it was not collapsed as easy as now. It was a pin that just took all the bases. And then it was just pure adrenaline and the bump of the body. It was going to hurt you, but that would take the table down. And the pin was not coming out, and we were struggling. And Carlos cannot do the play-by-play now because he's concentrating on taking the pin. So I'm doing the play-by-play. Le están dando una bis. Bis está en peligro. Está sangrando. And meanwhile, then Carlos is trying to take the pin, and this is happening right now. Vince is coming out. He's coming backwards. And just like a slow-motion Hollywood picture, Hollywood movie, the pin comes out just as the boss is flying backwards, and he lands, and the table goes boom. And there's sweat coming out from both of our foreheads. And that was just the adventure of being at the table. A lot of times they were not told to go into our table, and they will do it just to see us go through hell. The comeback of Shawn Michaels at the Alamo Dome, over 76,000 fans. That was the one that he came down to that cable. And during the match, it was a winter. I was part of the creative team. At the match, something happened. It's snowing outside. We have instructions as soon as the main event is over. Get my bag and go into the limousines. I'm traveling with Vince and the crew to a press conference in Los Angeles. So that was instructions. Don't even change. Just take your stuff, go to the limo. We got to take the charter out. So that's one of the instructions. I told Carlos, brother, when this is over, I got to go. And he knew. So I said, I'll see you back at the studio on Monday. And I'm calling the match, and out of nowhere, Shawn Michaels comes to the table, and he kind of shoots. He kind of gets his leg, blocking my leg like he's going to put a figure four leg lock. And I'm saying, what the heck is going on here? You know, why is this happening? I wasn't told that he was going to block my legs like to put a figure four leg lock. And then I realized what he was doing. He was immobilizing me. Now the commentating chair goes back. I'm like this. I cannot move forward. He's got my legs crossed. And it was a cowboy motif. So it really had like cowboy ties, the cowboy shirt, the jeans, and the boots. And Shawn Michaels takes one of my new boots. He takes one of my boots and hits, I think it was Diesel back then that he betrayed Shawn. I'm not sure. But I know that he grabbed my boot. He hits his opponent 3 or 4 times. The Alamo Dome goes crazy. And after the last shot, he shows the boot and he throws it to the crowd. And I say in Spanish, in commentary, and it was real, I say, what the heck? Shawn, that is my boot. I'm doing the play-by-play, but it's real. I'm saying, that is my boot. That is my boot, Shawn. And they're trying to get the fan to give it back. He disappears. I just have one boot. It's winter. Now we do the end of the match, and now I'm going straight to the limo. One sock, one cowboy boot. It's winter. It's snowing. I am walking through the snow with one sock. Now it's wet. I am cold. I'm going into the limo. I am completely wet on that sock part. I head to the charter flight. And now I have only one cowboy boot. All the creative team is there. Shane is there. Vince is there. and they think it's hilarious. They think it's funny. It's great. And back then there was no like now. Vince opened up Jack Daniels bottle, and he said, "Great show." And he took the first sip, Shane, and the bottle went all around. And I could tell you it was not just one bottle. And I got the privilege to see crazy things in private planes. I saw Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar wrestle on the floor against Vince McMahon and Shane. Whoever tells you that Vince or Shane are bad people, they are lying to you. These are good people, temperamental, like any genius, like anybody that owns a business with so much stress and millions of dollars. But these people were fun to work for, and I still call them my family, even though we are no longer together. I would always pray for them.
In 1996, when The Ultimate Warrior came back, there was just the A&E documentary about him and their Dark Side of the Ring episode tomorrow night. Do you have any memories of Ultimate Warrior at the time? Did you interact with him at all?
I don't recall the date, but at the time, if it was the time where Tatanka was there and Lex Luger was there and the Warrior was coming back, that they launched this comic book, and I had problems with Lex Luger for interviews, and I had problems with the Ultimate Warrior. The Ultimate Warrior, the problem was that he would talk to himself, and you didn't know if there was a person in his dressing room. And he wanted Vince to buy all the comic books. And Vince says, "I'm putting the comic books out. Why would I buy them?" So I think we lost the opportunity of seeing so much more of the Ultimate Warrior, because Ultimate Warrior was just consumed by being the Ultimate Warrior. And sometimes there was no reasoning. I don't think that he ever stopped being the Ultimate Warrior. I think he was 24 hours. It wasn't just the name changed into the Ultimate Warrior. I think his whole persona became 24 hours Ultimate Warrior. And it was very hard for somebody creative, like for me, to talk to him about what I wanted or what Vince wanted in a match on a pay-per-view, because you just didn't see on his eyes like a response. You just saw the world of the Ultimate Warrior. So it was an awesome guy, the body, but his world was, I think, was like a private world of the Ultimate Warrior, where not too many people were invited in. And I think it was very hard for Vince to do business with him when he came back, because he would not see anything else but that superhero of Ultimate Warrior. And meanwhile, as a creative, it was hard to get him into the position of doing something on the storyline, because you never knew, looking at his eyes, if he got it, if he understood it. And the other thing was, at the time, we were having trouble with Lex Luger. God bless him, but at the time he was so hard. You thought his character was narcissistic, but in real life he was so hard. I had a promo that he had to do. We had only about an hour in the pay-per-view, already done the Tatanka part. Needed to get his promo done. And he said, "I won't do it." I told him what he needed to say. He said, "No, I won't do it." I said, "This is what Vince approved, and I need this because in less than 40 minutes, this will air prior to your match with a recap, the B-roll, the vignette." And he said, "No, I am not happy with this. I'm not going to do it." I said, "Listen, I have the crew here. We need to do it." And he said to me, "No."
Yeah.
So I had no other choice but to go to Vince. And I said to Vince, "Lex doesn't want to do the promo." And he says, "Lex doesn't want to do the promo?" And he said, "Follow me." He took everybody out of that dressing room, and he went in 2 minutes, came back out, and he called me back into his office, and he says he'll be ready to do the promo. And he said, "Next time that somebody refuses to do a promo after I have approved it, you have my permission to fire him or fire her, because I will not tolerate this kind of behavior." And it went back in. He did the promo, and we did the storyline of Tatanka against Lex Luger. Vince, regardless of the troubles he's going through right now with the Creative, the monster of WWE has become so big that even for somebody talented and visionary like Vince McMahon, it is so hard to control because there's so many pieces. And he was so much into that XFL thing and so many other projects that his mind can only do, so much. And I think that also there's certain people that don't know wrestling, that have a lot of power, that don't respect the talent, don't respect the fans, that are really making it hard for WWE to recover into the glorious days of tremendous storylines.
One last thing before I leave you go, like you mentioned earlier on, kind of coming out of drugs and all that lifestyle and turning your life around and kind of your redemption in with your faith. Talk about actually your faith in Christ and the evangelism work that you do nowadays.
Yes, I am fighting, as I'm talking to you, I am fighting depression, anxiety, and sleep. Prior to me just coming back from Puerto Rico and preaching, I am a pastor, I am an evangelist, I'm an apostle of many churches. But what makes me happy is that I'm also a sponsor of the women in the Republic of Panama, the foreigners that are in jail there, Americans, Canadians, Ecuadorians, Colombians, Mexicans, people from Europe that have been caught there. And I preached in there and I saw the misery they were in. And I became the sponsor with another couple of pastors, and whatever they need, from toilet paper, toothpaste, their monthly, what the women need for their menstruation and all of that, and bringing hot food on the special occasions. I do that. I do that for also places in Honduras where we help sustain a clinic for poor people, for poor kids in a lot of Central American countries, even in Puerto Rico. We find a way to bring money to them, orphanages from Haiti to the Dominican Republic. We have a youth ministry in Bolivia. 20% of all the money that comes in to my pocket goes to that. And the book that I have that is sold in Amazon, but only in Spanish, is called Atangana, Ring de Tentaciones. Atangana, Ring of Temptations. 100% of the book goes to battered, women, that have been almost beat to death. We help support them. Kids that have been put into prostitution. So every book that sells, I even pay for the cost of every book. So every money goes to that. 20% of my money also goes to that. And this has been going on for 26 years, where I had an encounter with Jesus. I was a drug addict, alcoholic, a gambler, a no good husband, no good father, no good son. And I was doing $2,500 a week of crack cocaine and all the pills you could imagine. And I had 2 overdoses. In my life, I've been shot, stabbed, left for dead. And in that jail, I was put in. I was going to do 8 years, and then I was going to be deported, as I am Ecuadorian. I had a little talk with Jesus, and I said, if you're real, come into my life. And I had such a wonderful experience in jail. And I started to feel his presence. And it's been a relationship. And from there, not knowing anything of the Word of God, to now having preached to guys like Shawn Michaels, Eddie Guerrero, and seeing like a Molly Holly being a preacher, and seeing Sting being a co-pastor in a church, and seeing Shawn Michaels being a preacher, and all these people that are now touching other lives, and to get to see Eddie Guerrero preaching to the Undertaker, and just to know now that through his wife Michelle, Undertaker received Christ, and now he's evangelizing. Can you believe it? One of the guys that would not even want me close to him to talk to him about Jesus, now the Undertaker, the Prince of Darkness, is loving Jesus. So this is what God has given me the honor to see, and he changed my life. 26 years
Lex
I've been
Luger
playing.
is another name that's come to Christ as well.
Yes, Chavo Guerrero also. A lot of people, but it all started with a few of us crazy enough to believe the $1 Million Man. Ted DiBiase is a pastor. And the main thing is like my star in AAA, Pagano, last Triple Mania, when I got hit with the guitar. People say, wow, that was a great pay-per-view. To me, that was great. But to see Pagano alive doing the hardcore match off the truck on that neck pile driver into the table from the top of that truck, me getting the guitar shot and bleeding, that was part of the show. But the reality was that young athlete, that Pagano star, could have been dead. Any day you would have been reporting Mexican star found dead, overdosed in a hotel room. We made it, changed. The destiny changed. We got to love him and changed. And now he's helping in one of the toughest cities in Mexico, Juarez. He opened up a gym where he's helping kids in drugs, in gangs, boxing, wrestling. So that to me is what works. I am not religious. I'm a pastor, evangelist, apostle, but my way of preaching is the reality. I do wrestling calls when I'm preaching. Sometimes I bring wrestling into countries, and through wrestling, I let the wrestlers tell their story. You know, how did God change your story? 20, 30 seconds, boom, they do their match, but they see the reality where these guys and girls were. And I keep it real because my God doesn't need any help. He's real. His name is Jesus. And through that, I am still fighting what I said to you prior to going to Mexico for the last show. I spent 13 days in a clinic. I did not know if I was going to be able to climb into that plane. I did not know if I was going to be able to do the show, which was live on Facebook. And then at one point, Donna Perazzo, the knocked out champion, was going to come in and do play-by-play in our table, and we had the voladores, the Aztecs flying. That was the opening of the shot. The Indians of the tradition of Mexico flying in this pole, flying like a carousel, and then the table where we're doing the commentary, and my hands were shaking, my knees were shaking. I had just been out of a clinic for depression, for anxiety and no sleep. And here I'm calling something live where at the end, a truck is going to come in and we're going to find out that top stars from the other company are coming in. Sam Adonis, the Blue Diamond, and Puma King attack our stars. And then Blue Diamond grabs the mic and says to the people, I'm going to show you now, no friend, I have a message to tell you. And then we show on the screen Andrade, and Andrade says, I'm challenging Kenny Omega for the Mega Championship at Triple Mania. And this is all happening, and people don't know that I could have never come out of that clinic. And yet I was doing the call. So every day is an adventure. I have refused to give up. I am not calling it quits. I have announced that I will retire on February 25. And my book is coming out on the 24th. And I am battling every day not to surrender and not to give up into this horrible depression and the anxiety and the messages that you get. Sometimes you become so low that sometimes it's like suicide. It's like your only option. But I thank God that through his strength and his love, I'm able to tell people that are watching us right now, don't give up. Look for professional help. And as crazy as it might sound, pray. And that's what I do. And this is the story of Atangana, por poquito, dale que no soy yo.
Awesome, man. You're an absolute inspiration. Your story's amazing, and I can't wait for your book to come out. And I'm just wishing you all the best in the future. And thank you so much for coming on today. Thanks so much for your time, man. It's been awesome.
Thank you very much. I bless you in Jesus' name, and hello, and wishing your audience the best. Don't give up. Keep up the good fight. You were not born to be defeated. You are a champion at heart, and just fight like a champion, and you will get there.
Thank you for tuning into Pro Wrestling Defined on YouTube. Please like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the YouTube channel to keep up with all future content. And please follow Pro Wrestling Defined on Twitter, Instagram, and like us on Facebook.